Yo, what's up, everybody? This is the Small Talk Podcast. I'm Bobby Poe, and I got my man Ryan Antczak. Welcome to the podcast. How you doing today?
Today's good. Today's going to be a good day. We got an active day today. Got a radio station later on this morning. I co-host the Valor Latino show.
Okay, cool.
I don't look Latino, but I bring the velour to the show. That's what I tell them. I'm like, I ain't bringing the Latino, but I do bring the velour. So, but no, I've been doing that for 3 years.
Yeah.
I've been having a good time with it. It's at a big radio station on the AM dial, but it's the biggest station in the state. But no, I mean, it's just a little show every Sunday morning.
What time? What time do it start?
9:30 to 10. I tell most people they ain't in their car. I tell them catch it on the iHeart app and push it AM 1130 WISN. Then you can hear us talk away. And we interview a lot of. It could be political. I'd say half the time it's political. The other half it's community leaders and things of that sort. And sometimes we'll just have a round table and just talk what's going on, in the city that day, this week, what's going, now it's kind of sports and brewers. It's usually more about community or politics.
And where do you find a Milwaukee County local politics station, or
not even so much stations, but news people? Find those out. Talk to people you may respect. It's like, hey, look, Ryan, and I'll tell you some people. Like I like Jessica McBride. She's been a journalist in Milwaukee politics for about 25, 30 years. Okay. You could get some stuff on the news stations. If you want a little more on the Democrat left-leaning, you can listen to 540 AM and 620 TMJ, both on the AM dial. If you want to listen to more conservative, let's say more on the right, that would become more of AM 1130 WISN. Is there something in the middle? Yeah, not really. On our show, on the Valor Latino show, the guys that the other gentleman I co-host with, Victor Hoike, he's definitely independent / more, Democrat. But we come in the middle and we talk just respectful politics. So, and I think we miss that in radio or in just an everyday conversation. Yeah. Okay. It's like, can we kind of, not so much meet in the middle, you can have your values and I got mine, but can we have a conversation about it in a respectful one without saying, I'm going to push you off that chair. So that's kind of where you get, look for independent news stations or reporters. I think at that point you find somebody that you like and respect. And I think we all just want the God honest truth.
How long were you a scout?
I was a Boy Scout from ages, I was in Cub Scouts from age 6 to 10 and Boy Scouts from 10 to 16. And, when I became, you're in high school, it wasn't the coolest thing to do, what I mean? You're like, you're gay. I'm like, shut up, it's, but it teaches you a lot of values. It teaches you a lot of things. And the memories you make, I had a great time in it. And, our scout leaders were very strict dudes, very, grown dudes. I then, when I was in the jail, I worked for the Journey House, right? I mean, 25 years ago, they're paying me $20 an hour to take kids, troubled kids, and mentor to them. And I'm like, wait a minute, I could duplicate this. Why just do one or two kids a week, 1 week here, 1 week there? And I'm like, this kid needs more help. We need to be much more involved in this kid's lives. Taking them to the movies or going out for dinner and conversating is not going to do it once a week or once, 2 weeks. So I resurrected my old Boy Scout troop, which is the oldest troop in the state of Wisconsin. And now we got 10 or 11 kids. Now then we kind of grew to about 15, 20. It is a calling for me to do. So at the age of 20, it was 9/11. I was home. Most people either were at work or at home.
No, I was in middle school.
Were you?
Yeah,
oh, okay.
Was, 8th grade, yeah.
I was sitting at home with my 2-year-old, 3-year-old, and I'm like, wow, this is crazy. You're watching it, and I'm like, like a lot of people, it felt like we need to serve. Our country needs us right now. A lot of people, now I felt I was too old, and at the time when I did try to go into the service, they were like, dude, you're too broken up. I had major surgeries at that point on my body, but I was in great shape. I was probably in the best shape of my life. And, our government at the time, they were like, sorry, son, we just can't use your services. I'm like, all right, I'll serve in another way, and so I got into Boy Scouts. And, we make jokes about the Boy Scouts in the sense all they are is Who are they? They're Marines without bigger guns. That's all we are. We don't. They got the better guns and stuff, but we just got 22s and 38s. But it was a calling for me to be in Boy Scouts and to mentor. I was a young dude. I was 24. And I'm like, the Scoutmasters are usually this older, wiser guy that's in their 40s or 50s and taking these young bucks aside and giving the experiences that we've had in life and teaching them. I was 24.
What inspired you to become a correction officer?
I'll be honest, it is a life's calling. I didn't know it. I say blessed, okay? I'm 6'3" and I'm 270. I was just ingrained from a young age that I will protect those that cannot protect themselves. That's what we do in corrections. I was already doing that at the age of 10 and 13 and in high school, and then it was college. Protect those that couldn't protect themselves. God blessed me with a mind and size, that and to do good with it. And so I went to be a teacher because I wanted to do good. While I was a teacher, I was bouncing at a club. It was a cop that came in all the time, right? And or a sheriff. It was a sheriff's deputy, and he came in all the time. He flashed his badge, but he was there for the hotties. He was just there to party. Never to bring your gun in a club. Now I trusted him, and he brought his gun in the club, and I was just kind of like, and I didn't see it when you flash a badge, coming on in. He got drunk this time, and he started waving it around. Right, this is a case that is going to go bad. This is going to get on the news. I'm like, okay. I'm like, dude, come on. Let's go talk. And no, and he was mad about these girls and this and that. And I got him close to the bathroom, and then he starts to fight with me. And I just threw him in the bathroom. And we had cuffs at the time. We had cuffs. We had pepper spray. And I cuffed him to the sink. And I'm like, and I took his gun, unloaded it. And I took his gun, unloaded it. And I'm like, you need to chill out. Dude, it was scary. I ain't gonna lie, I was scared. I called the sheriff's office. Now this is like 2 in the morning. And I called the sheriff's office, not 911, and I'm like, I need to speak to a captain. I didn't know what I was saying, who I'm asking. I'm like, I needed to speak to a captain or it's gonna turn into a 911 call now. Comes down there, him and about 4 deputies, quick. And I explained what happened. And the captain was like, you did that? And he was making me scared. I ain't gonna lie. Dude was making me scared. He's got 4 deputies behind him, mean mugging me. And he's like, you did that? I'm like, yeah. No, I stood behind him. I'm like, yeah, I did that. And he's like, meet me at roll call. He goes, you got to be there in 3.5 hours. I'm like, what? I got to go to bed, man. I'm like, no, I go to bed at 4 a.m., dude. He's like, you want a career? You're going to be at my roll call at 5:30. I'm like, oh, okay. And I did. And so that's how I got in at the HOC back in 99.
That's dope. I never knew that story. And
I keep that time to myself. It's just, and I'll never, I forgot the dude's name now, but that's how I got in. Most people go in, fill out an app or online. And I did go through that eventually, but this captain was like, I'll get you through the process. He goes, if you are what we are looking for at the sheriff's office and at the House of Correction. And I picked the House of Correction. The reason being, I was scared. Because I'm like, what if I run into this dude? Dude is gonna blow me up. And I'm like, I didn't want to be around people. I'm like, start me fresh. If you're giving me this kind of an opportunity. And at the time, I worked for the parks. So I worked for the parks during the day and did private security and bouncing at night.
What was a typical day like for you? Like, it's 60 on one in the new building, it's 70 on one on the north building. What was a typical day like for Antczak?
Oh, shoot, let's just bring the peace, man. I like to call myself a broke has-been comedian. I did that in high school, late high school, early college. I tried to do comedy. I did it. I was doing it, but it's hard and it doesn't pay you nothing. So I was like, fuck this shit. So I would walk in the store, whether it's 6 a.m. or 8 a.m., depending on when you kind of started. 6 a.m., you want them to sleep. 8 a.m., we got to start moving things around. Gentlemen, you have your little morning announcement. I try to be comedial about it, and crack jokes. And I'm like, so what I'm trying to do is make the atmosphere easier.
The vibe.
Right. Yeah. You know what? We got some tension. We got some kids out, the wolf packs, if you will. I'm here to talk to the men. You boys want to be boys? That's what you do. I'll deal with you. You know, my rules were no dying, no killing, no. You know, I had like 4 or 5 big things. Everything else is open.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, guys, I don't get a Christmas bonus for fighting or taking your stuff. You know, I got creative with rules and things of that sort. I've never, to this day, never had a bad run-in with a former inmate. It was, you know, I mentored to a lot of them. You know, pulled them alongside the desk. You know, ticked off a lieutenant or two here and there. Like, they can't be that close. Sometimes he needs to air out his business and what to do, and I give him my advice. And then some are there for long term, and you're just like, well, what's your future going to be? And to me, felons couldn't pick up jobs like they can now. And I'm like, work for yourself, dude. I'm like, you're fighting for your life in here half the damn time. Now fight for your life when you're out there, and become an entrepreneur. You know, like I said earlier, my thing was about money. You know, and it's like, and bet on yourself. You know, if you're a lazy shit, well, no, then you're screwed. You know, but if you think you got the drive to do something, prove it. You know, and we would make a business plan. And we would talk. This is the same stuff I talk about with a lot of inmates, and just mentoring to them. So, and that's what got me into scouting. And that's what got me into the Journey House, and then into Boy Scout. I'm like, why? You know, I was having a good time. So we just wanted peace. You know, it's like, guys, be respectful of each other. But if you take advantage of my kindness as you think it is weakness, I'm going to show you my strengths real fast.
What spot you hated working in the jail?
Anything North Building in the middle of July. How about that? You know, when we get these record temps and we are sitting, you know, I brought a thermometer, put it in my bag, you know, when we were allowed to bring bags, put it in my bag. And I hung that bitch up, and I'm like, it's 109 in here. We would let guys run around in underwear. You know, it's just like, you know, take some showers. I'm like, guys, just run in, run out, you know. I'm not asking you to sit in there and just, you know, it come out wet. I don't even care. Come out wet and just...
Because the floor is just going to dry.
Right.
It's that...
So I'm like...
eggs in the back.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, guys, I'm truly trying to look out for y'all. I want you to, you know, trying to cool you off as best I can. Sit in front of the fans. Sit in front of them wet, you know, But yeah, anything North Building in the middle of summer, I'm like, of all the time, and I bet you tell me, did they ever get AC? Oh, they did get AC, didn't they?
Yeah, down the road.
Right.
The road, yeah.
But that was the hardest part. I know, like, and we as officers wearing, you know, pants like this and a polyester shirt, a t-shirt underneath. We were just like, I feel like I'm in fat camp, dude. I'm like, I could lose 8 pounds just sitting here.
Then you sitting in Henry 2 and you hear, med nurse to Henry 2 on the way for the diabetics.
I'm like, yeah, oh God, they're just passing out. And I'm like, wake up. I will tell you this. There's a couple of them I slapped around. I'm like, wake up. Give me your candy bar. Give me the fucking candy bar. Eat this, son. Come here. We're not going to wait for an orange. I need you to have some high-powered sugar. Oh, I'm coming around. Drink some water. We ain't making a call. You know?
Yeah, those sort of days.
And that's the thing. You're in there, and you want them to survive. You want to survive. And if you get forced over, I think that was the worst part. And then if they throw your dopey ass into another North Building dorm.
No, it's when they leave you in there on them days.
Right.
I had a whole 60-day stretch in Georgia.
Oh, right.
You got forced for my rotation.
Right. And I was there before they had rotations. You talked to like Kirkpatrick and Woodkey, and you talking like real old vets. They would be in there for months and months, and like 8-9 months a shot. And I'm like, oh God, that would suck ass in the summer. I just, you know, and that I came on when the North Building just literally opened. Just opened up. And
you mean the South?
South Building opened up. And I'm like, oh, this is nice. And, you know, you got these other officers like you rooks. And I'm like, I'll tell you this quick story. I had a guy, we go to the North Building radio room, and Trutner, I don't know if you remember, he was probably before you got there. Old, crabby-ass dude, right? And I walk in there, and I said, hey, Trut, how you doing? I've been there for like a year. He's in the North Building radio room. He's reading the paper. His dorm's in the chow hall. And he goes, what'd you call me? I'm like, oh, shit. I said, Trut.
Name?
Right. I said, Trut, what? You know, I'm getting a new battery flip up, so, you know. And I'm like, Trut, what? And he goes, you will address me as Mr. Trutner. Don't you? And he's going off on me in front of the sergeant, Colgrove. And I shut the door. I just slammed the door. And he was just like, you know, because he thought he was flexing on me because he was senior officer. And I'm like, I don't care what you are. If I said, what's up, bitch, you have every right to come at me. I was like, I heard other people call you Trut, you know, Trut. And I'm like, hey, how you doing, Trut? surviving? What's in the news today? You know, because he's reading the paper. I'm just being cordial. And you're going to go off on me? Colgrove. And he's trying to unlock the door, and I put my foot on the door. And I'm like, no. I said, you ever address me like that again, I will. I'm like, I was nice to you. And I'm like, and all of a sudden I put my foot off the door. Cole goes, what is going on in here? I'm like, you didn't see nothing, hear nothing. Right, Trent? Yeah. It's like the most physical I ever got with an officer. You know what I mean? Otherwise, every officer, even ones I didn't like, you know, and it wasn't many that I didn't like. I didn't like officers, more so sergeants and lieutenants that flexed their authority. Yeah. That it was just like, and I get it, if I screw up, I can take my lumps. You know what? Hey, but when you're just being a bitch, just to be a bitch, and you didn't like that I call you out on it, hey.
Tough titty.
Right. So, yeah, things like that. I think the riot was probably the most memorable thing that we had. I don't know if you were there for that. E2? F2?
They wouldn't let him out the dorm.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't there.
Destasio was underneath the table, and we went in there. I got stabbed in the back of my head. They broke the window. We were fighting the one dude, and right in the hallway. There's 6, 7 of us on this dude. And I'm like, we're done with tactics. I'm like, knockout punch. We're going for it right now. The lieutenant at the time, when we had that fight, and I'm holding the door down. I'm flexed down, holding the door. Dude breaks the window, the plexiglass window, takes a shard and shoves it in my fucking head. I was like, and McPike is looking, you know, and I get there and I'm just, blood is just showering down. And I'm like, I was so pissed that you disrespected me. I took that shard out of it and I stabbed him in the side, right into his chest, in his arm. And I just thunder kicked him down. And McPike's like, whoa, dude, whoa. And I'm like, you just stabbed me? And I'm like, I was mad. Like, you don't stab me. I was so mad about being disrespected. And ended up going to the, St. Luke's. And all of a sudden my wife shows up. And I'm like, who called you? Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, no. And she's like, oh my God, you were stabbed. And I'm like, we good. They stitched me up. I had to shave my back of my head, but we good. I'll be back. And I was back in 3 days. I had 2 days off and I took an extra, and that was probably the craziest thing though. And Mike Pike was my training officer. So
Big Pike.
Yeah.
So that was Antczak and roll call. You didn't look at the schedule and you have no clue where you are. What's a good post to get called while you're in roll call?
You remember EWS?
Yes, I do.
That and East ESO. So that was like on a weekend too. They lost you. They just whatever. I walk around, especially when it was days like this. I used to chill with Jose because he was the officer.
Yeah. West CSO.
Right.
West
He'd
CSO.
be on the west. I'd be on the east. Or when we'd go down by TPC.
No, I came in 08.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. TPC was done. And we would wreck them. We would feed them so gosh damn quick at 4:30. We got in at 4 on second shift. We would wreck them until sunset, 8 o'clock. Dude, everybody was sleeping at 9:30. Get in the showers, so everybody's sleeping. We cruised it to midnight. It was, but we were playing baseball, and I had a wiffle ball bat. This guy. Yeah. They say I can't bring a wooden bat. Now this is when the rules were a lot more lax. We couldn't give them a wooden bat. So we had a wiffle ball bat. And we would, let them play kickball. I'd bring a kickball. I'd bring a wiffle ball bat. But you got the respect from the inmates. It was like, hey, good looking out. We didn't wreck them for an hour. We wrecked the whole building for 3 hours. Tired them out, and let them just have fun, shoot the breeze, hit up on the fence. And Jose was on the perimeter. And it was just, I'm like, I got it on the inside. You got it on the outside. So those were the greatest for me. Or sitting in EWS. Bet I'm good. Right. Well, no, I was just about to ask you.
If you had a cool pod sergeant, pod was the best spot because after you break K2, L2, Paul 2, Nord 2, and what was the last? Mary 2?
Mary 2. Yeah.
Man, you get them breaks out, y'all chilling.
Yeah, you're just chilling up in there. You're watching everybody, and you're just hoping and praying.
Showers, you put boom, boom, boom.
Right.
Take the shower.
That's another good post.
Yeah, man.
I was in there with Gervais a lot. Gervais was kind of stuck out in the annex for whatever reason. Being the pod relief, and you're just knocking them out, feed them, wreck them, and again, you wreck them out.
Hey, Garrett was serious in that pod.
Yes. He softened up. It took him a couple years for. I'm like, dude, you can bring it down. I'm not saying we let our pants down and shirts out, but just, it's okay. We got this.
Yeah, shout out to Gary, man. He retired. Yeah. So, out of all your years of service, I believe everybody has their decade when the vibe was just so good. It was
earlier years. For me.
Let's talk about those days. Like
I grew up. When I came up in '99 and then in 2001, I'm in my mid-20s, and a lot of those officers, I worked second shift that first year, and then I was able to flip the first, and actually I flipped the third and then the first. And it was a quick flip from second 31, but I eventually got on. I got lucky, as I was told, and I'm like, bet whatever. I hung around the older dudes. Shinneker, who was in visiting at the time. I don't know if he retired by the time you got in, but he was always the visiting officer. I hung around a lot of the lieutenants and sergeants at the time. Because in all honesty, I really wanted to absorb what they knew. That was, I'm like, I want to be where you're at, and I would work a bunch of overtime. Even when I got the first, I'd work on second. I'm like, if you could kick me out in the TPC, I'm like, I'll every day. Depending on the weather. If it was raining, I'm like, I don't know about that. If we got a beautiful stretch like this, every day, put me on second shift, I'll knock out TPC. We'll do this. I was friendly to all. I chilled with some, but I really just wanted to learn a lot from the guys that have been there for 10 and 15, 20 years at that point when I'm wet behind the ears at 2 years. I wasn't scared to step up, and I'll be honest, when Clark came through, he had his command staff meetings. I was the only officer that I was in on those meetings at times. And, but he would hold you accountable. He wasn't scared to like challenge you and get in your face, And one time, during a hearing, I was late 4 times of the year. And he gives you this little ass chair, like a little, kindergarten chair. And I'm like, I literally looked at that thing, and Shoops and McGee were sitting behind me. And I'm like, look at them like they got real chairs. I'm like, and I kicked, dude, I shit you not, I kicked that thing right back, like, and it crashed into him. I'm like, give me your chair. And I'm like, and Shoops looked at me like, Kev's like, no. I not that I didn't have respect for Kev, I do, but I wasn't going to ask McGee. I'm like, no, a lady should have her chair, right? And I'm like, give me your chair. And he's like, no.
Took Shoops' chair.
No, I wanted to take, she wouldn't give it up. And I was like, that's fine. So at that time, I stood. And this is right when we started saluting. So Clark comes in the room. You stood. You always, that's the same thing. When Captain runs in the room, what do? You stand, you salute. Okay. Well, he walked in the room. I stood at attention, salute. He goes, where's your chair? I'm like, I don't know, sir. What do you mean you don't know? I'm like, right now, I'm talking to you, sir. And he looks, he goes, officer, why do you have his chair? I don't have his chair, sir. And he kicks it right back to me. I'm like, he goes, sit down. I'm like, I'm good, sir. And I'm like, fucking don't do it. You call, he's trying to agitate you for you to go off on him. I'm like, nope, we're not going down that road. And so the thing comes up real fast about payroll. He goes, don't the taxpayers of this county pay you every 2 weeks? I said, no, sir. He goes, what the f*** you mean no? I mean, like, no, I don't know how to say it in any other language, sir. I'm like, negative. And at the time, because if you didn't tell the truth, you're done. Well, I had a payroll issue at the time. My money went into someone else's account.
Oh.
This is just as we went from paper check to direct deposit. And so I didn't get paid. He called the whole payroll department out. They all come out and he goes, explain. And I'm like, sir, you don't have to do, I wasn't talking to you, boy. And I'm like, I was ready to go up there. I'm like, who the hell are you talking to like this? And so he goes, explain him. And I'm like, you have to be so damn rude. He called the whole payroll, all 5 girls in there. And she goes, well, he gets paid by paper check on the 3rd week until we know where his money's going. And he goes, so you think you're cute? And I'm like, no, sir, my wife does. Like, now I want to flex a little bit. He fired me. And that same woman, I can't think of her name. At this point now, she's like second in charge. I can't think of her name. Saved my ass. He fired me. He goes, you're fired. He goes, you think you're cute? You're fired. I'm like, for being late?
I would have said, for my check being not sent to me?
Right, but I'm like, but I'm like, that 4th absent or that 4th tardy, I'm like, I was in roll call, and then I step out because I had to go to the bathroom bad. I'm like, I can make a determination if I'm going to make it through roll call or not. I'm like, dude, this is coming now. I mean, let them know I was here. I wasn't. And they popped me off for that. I was pissed. And I'm like, fired for that? And I'm like, oh, God, I want to know her name so bad now. She looked out for me, and she pulled him aside. And she goes, Australian's like, step outside. I stepped back in. He goes, you have made some profound effect on whatever, damn physician, second in charge, you know, and this, and I'm like, and it went back to that riot situation. And she was a lieutenant at the time. And he goes, I'm giving you 60 working days off. I'm like, what? For tardy? And then he goes, you got a problem with that, boy? And I'm like, no. So what did I do? I signed up for my off days.
And work. That was you.
That was me. I started that.
Oh.
And then, so I started coming in. I worked doubles on my off days. And he goes, and they only caught it. Christy caught it. He goes, you're suspended. And I'm like, not today.
The
She goes, no,
legend.
you're suspended. Yeah. And I'm like, no, right here is I kept that order in my side pocket. I'm like, this order says I'm suspended yesterday. I'm not suspended today and tomorrow. She goes, you're going to, and I'm like, the order says. And so I made up 24 hours, got time and a half, which is close to, and then I'm off for 5 days.
I forgot. That was you. I heard that story like a million times.
Yeah.
McGee would tell that story.
Yeah.
Oh, you the legend.
So that's how I'm like, fine, suspended all summer. And I literally had a camper up on a lake just like this. This is what I did. Kick back, enjoy beer, and then when I went out into the lake, I took the cooler with me in the lake and chilled. That is what I did. 40 miles north, and I'm like, that's bet. That's what I'm gonna do. And that's what I did. Came in for 2 days, 2 doubles, in and out, done. And Chrissy had to write like a thesis. I mean, she got
he made them read books, all kinds of stuff.
And I felt, and I did come. She goes, "Well, apology doesn't help my ass right now." And I'm like, Captain Chrissy, I'm just saying, I'm genuinely sorry. By no means that I want to get you in trouble, and I didn't think this would happen. So that's what you do. And I'm like, and she was pissed. She was pissed. And the lieutenant too. There was 2 lieutenants that got in trouble too. And I'm like, by no means that I want that to happen. I'm looking out for me. You didn't suspend me. And he goes, you undermined me. He fired me. He came back. I was the first floor officer, first 200 coming up. I have like 12 inmates in tow going to visiting. He goes, this is when we had to clear the hallways, right? This is why we had to clear the hallways, is because I came there with 12 inmates. He made them face the wall. And he goes, Antczak, you're fired. And I'm like, I literally went off on him. Yeah. He goes, because you look fucking ugly. I'm like, fuck you. I said, fuck off. And he goes, you can't talk to me. I'm like, I'm fired. I can talk to you any way I want. And so I go right over. I'm like, and he's going off on me. I'm like, I'm done. You fired me. I don't got to listen to you. I go over to the lieutenant's office just down the ways. He's like, you come back here right now. I'm like, I'm fired. I don't got to listen to you. Get these inmates. Where are they going? I don't know. Not my problem. And so I was off for 9 months. And they gave me back on January 1st. I got my job back, and they paid me back pay for 9 months. And they were like, stop. Why do you stand up to him?
Challenging him.
Right. And I'm like, no, just because you got that 4 stars on your shoulder don't mean you disrespect people like that. So I wasn't shaking shit of him. But again, it got me fired, suspended. And I was just like, so, I mean, as a leader, I'm like, I'm the type of dude that's in the trenches with y'all. You know, like, if I was that 4-star sheriff, I would have, hey, where are these guys going? I got to take them over to the 400. I'll take 2 for you. That's my kind of leadership. I'm in the trenches with you. I'm in the pool with you. You know, not from you go to this, you go to that. So, yeah. Oh no, memories. Oh god, yeah. I just remember checking all my shit in at the drawer, and Imicus is looking at me like, "What are you doing, you idiot?" And I'm like, I mean, you know, just it is what it is. I'll get my job back.
Just take a little vacation, get paid for it later.
Right, and I got paid for the whole thing.
I actually caught 133 day.
With days off.
Oh yeah, unpaid. 133 day suspension, unpaid. I think turns out to like 6 months.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And he thinks he's slick with that. And I'm like, so I'm not suspended on August 14th. So you're saying I could work. So I found a round robin way to get that. I'm like, and like I said, I felt bad.
You found an angle.
Right, but I found an angle. And I'm like, no, I'm not suspended today, sir. He called me back. Like, what are you doing? Why are you here? And I'm like, I'm not suspended today, sir. He was so frustrated. Oh my God. I'll be honest, I was scared. I ain't gonna lie. So
That's usually when great things happen, when you are the you know.
but I wasn't trying to rebel to be a rebel. You know what I mean? I wasn't trying to be a rebel about it. I was just like, no, you laid the law. I followed the law, but now you don't like the law that you laid.
How long you been riding bikes?
I rode. I rode a crotch rock when I was a teenager. But I was an idiot on a bike. I love speed. Now, I have a GMC Typhoon, and I have I had at the time a 70 Monte Carlo, and it had a blower on, or a Whipple supercharger on it. I mean, I could lift the front end and go. I'd bring both cars periodically to work, and I got talked to about it. It's like, you can't be doing peel outs in the parking lot. I'm like, oh, I can do them on 6. No, you can't do them on 68 either. And I'm like, all right,
been there, done that.
Right. So I rode a crotch rocket, and I love speed. And then the coming to Jesus moment came. You go, the whole family. You walk in the room like, who died? It's going to be you. So I gave it up, and then my best friend Jim had a Harley, and my wife wanted to, she goes, you should go back to riding, just do it respectfully. I'm like, okay, that's cool. And so about 15 years ago, I got back up on a bike. Now I just had a big Honda, 1800, the biggest bike you can get, and I'm a big dude. And then when my best friend Jim passed away 4 years ago, now it'll be 4 years in October. I bought his bike, which is a beautiful, beautiful bike. And I mean, he spent $35,000 on that damn thing, and I was just like, gosh damn. Well, we took trips, bike trips and things of that sort, be on the open road. It to me, it's very relaxing. It could hurt your ass a bit. I mean, I remember one trip we took to Little Sturgis. We coming back, my ass was pounding, it hurt so bad. I from the hotel, I took 2 pillows, duct taped it to my damn bike. And I sat on that, and I'm like, my ass is it's ginger right now. Just walking around like I just got pounded. I'm like, oh, killing me. But no, I love the open road. I love bikes. I love just kind of going the country, and not freeways, but just side highways. Highway 18, Highway 67. Hit the open road. It's a great way, especially if you can do it with friends. You hit some restaurants, hit some places to shop, become a tourist in your own state. So, but I just kind of like, you put your headphones on. I don't even mess with my radio, and just cruise. You think about a problem, and sometimes I'll put it on some you got electric tape, but medical tape, and I literally put it right over my speedometer with the problem that I got. What 2 problems I'm going to need to think about? If it's family, if it's this or that. And then you just sit and think, and you're just kind of cruising your way through. It's kind of a nice little therapy, if you will.
What's the farthest you rode on your bike?
Oh, no, it would be Sturgis. Little Sturgis down in Kentucky, and that was an experience in its own right, man. I kind of was making fun. I like talking shit, and it was like, and everybody spoke with a draw. Hey, how you doing? Like, so what does my dumb ass do? I'm doing just fine.
Oh.
And then, where's Johnny on the spot? And I'm like, you making fun of me?
Oh.
Yeah. I do got a higher speed that we can put on that record player, to kind of speed it up a bit. I call him my brother Jim. He was just like, stop that shit. Stop that shit, dude.
I know.
Yeah. I'm like, I can't help it. I'm like, Jim, come on. You want to become a Baptist? We passed like 40 churches. I'm like, they don't like us, Jim. They don't like you. You're Catholic. It's just, making fun of the situation. But Sturgis is just a big ass following of bikers, and you could have 100, 500,000 people there, and someone gets out of line, a little drunk, a little stupid. There's other bikers there. Son, sit. I remember when there was a million-man march bike ride to Washington. No citation, no nothing, no fighting, nothing. We could conduct ourselves like gentlemen. I'm not saying, and we are party people, but Sturgis down in Kentucky, and that was fun. Minus the ride that my tender flat ass can't handle, but no, it was a great experience, man. And I ain't gonna get too deep in it, but then half the people there lost their tops, and the other half lost their bottoms. I was just like, I felt like the oddball wearing pants, But I mean, yeah, they get crazy, but it was just a cool ride. Him and his brother and I, and we take trips up to La Crosse, Eau Claire, Minneapolis. We'll do some trips like that, but like I said, side highways and things of that sort. So, But it's just that peacefulness, and you can sit there and even shoot the shit like you and I. We can sit there on a bike and we're going. We can talk about whatever, and we just kind of cruising through.
Everybody who had those grown-up toys,
that's
right?
grown up. Yeah.
Right. What's your dream bike?
What I'm on. I'd be honest, maybe something like that. If I had to pick one bike, I'd one just with one seat. Now, I have a
you
bagger.
don't have a choice. You can have 30 seats. You a millionaire.
Oh yeah, right. But they call them fat boys, something like. But definitely heavily customized. I would definitely. I'd drop like 10, 15, 20 G though. Engine. Oh, I want horsepower, dude. I'm all about speed. Right. Same thing with a car. I mean, I have a GMC Typhoon. It's a real rare truck. I like older cars, the 60, 50, 60, 70s. But I mean, as much as I like a 67 Chevelle, I like the low and slow. Okay. You know, you grab me a 64 Lincoln Continental, suicide doors, drop it 3 inches. I'm not looking to go fast. I just want to.
I know that car. What's the superhero movie? It was a comedy. The Hornet.
Yeah. It was kind of done up a little fun, but that's a 64 to 66 Lincolns. Suicide doors, just a super long car. Those caddies, classic, authentic look. And, you know, just something with a nice little rumble on it. So I don't need to have that $1 million car, that $300,000 car, that Bentley, if you will, that rolls. You know, time is your most valuable asset. And I'm like, I need to spend time with my friends and family. And I spent time. And sure enough, 3 of my best friends died 6 months after that. Yikes. And I'm just like, had I not done that, I may not have spent that kind of time with them. So
you spoke about time, and I appreciate you taking your time out to join me on the podcast.
Dude, I'm glad. Like I said, I started looking at your podcast, and I'm like, yeah. You know, like I said, I see you on Facebook. I like that's what I like about Facebook. Not this. When you dropped it, I was like, oh, damn. And you might have noticed, I like this shit. I was like, I wanted you to know I was there, but I was like, oh my God, good for you, dude. You know, and I was just like, and it was good seeing the other officers out there, and you know, and other things of that sort. And
I appreciate it.
You know, that to me is a leader trait. You know?
Yeah, it comes with a shit though.
You're talking to somebody who's been a leader for a long. I always tell them, like, you get the accolades about 20-30% of the time. The other 70-80, you're catching shit. I just want you to know, I was sitting on my phone, you dude. You know, that's how I was with it. I was having a good, and there was others too. I talked to some others, and they were like, man, good for him. So, you know, like I said, it was good.